And we're going to get started here. My name is John Riggins. I'm the statewide planning manager here at ADWR. And before we begin, I'd like to run through some meeting logistics for everybody in person and on the webinar. Please note that this meeting is going to be recorded and broadcast via our webinar. The meeting recordings and materials from today's meeting will be posted on the council's website, which is on the ADWR webpage, and the address is shown on the screen. Only members of the council will be able to unmute themselves to participate in today's meeting via the webinar. If you have any technical issues throughout the meeting, please call the ADWR help desk at 602-771-8444, or you can email tickets@azwater.gov. And with that, I will now hand the meeting off to Director Bishkowski.
Good afternoon, everyone. I understand you just had an update on the meeting logistics. So I would like to call this meeting to order. I'm Tom Bishkowski, the Director of the Department of Water Resources and the Chair of the Governor's Water Policy Council. And so at this time, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Governor Hobbs, who will give some opening remarks.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am so pleased to convene this first meeting of the Water Policy Council, and it's great to see all of you here ready to work productively towards solutions to what I think is our most pressing issue, that of water. So looking around the room, it is clear that we have assembled a group of experts from across the state with representatives from agriculture, cities, rural Arizona, tribal nations, the business community, conservation organizations, and more. You have been called on to tackle our water challenges in a time where we need serious action. As you know, the purpose of this Water Policy Council is to develop policy recommendations that update, revise, and improve our water management framework. Arizona has a long tradition of forming water councils and commissions. Some have produced our most monumental advancements in water policy, and some have done little. My expectation is this council will be in the first category. Arizona is booming and becoming the center of our country's economic future. We're attracting businesses from around the world, growing jobs, and building a talented workforce that is developing cutting-edge technology and manufacturing. But to continue that growth, I know that we must ensure a secure water future. Refusing to acknowledge the facts will not solve our problems. We must take action. We must build a resilient Arizona for generations to come. We find ourselves in a position today where the work we do here for our state's water future has never been more important. While we must secure Arizona's Colorado River supplies in negotiations with the federal government and basin states, we must not lose sight of another critical resource that has been part of Arizona's DNA, the groundwater beneath our feet. For generations, groundwater has supported Arizona communities, our agriculture, our industry, and our stunning landscapes. In times of Colorado River shortage, it is groundwater that we turn to as a backup. In many communities throughout Arizona, it is the only water supply available. But groundwater is a finite resource, and once pumped, it won't return within our lifetimes. With a resource this precious, we must manage it wisely. And this is why I'm directing this council to focus on two major areas of groundwater management. First, we've known for decades that rural communities have had too few protections for their groundwater. These places are essential parts of the magic that makes Arizona a unique place to live and visit. The aquifers and fossil groundwater reserves that support these areas are under threat of depletion. In January, in my State of the State, I vowed to support local communities and aid them in accessing the tools that they need to protect their water futures. This includes consideration of new AMAs and INAs, and I intend to follow through on that commitment. The budget that was passed last week includes $5 million appropriated to ADWR specifically for this purpose. But I'm also open to alternative solutions. It's been 40 years since the Groundwater Management Act was passed. And so if we need new tools to manage our groundwater, then we should create them. This council is charged with developing proposals and recommendations for better management of rural groundwater, recommendations that I would hope to see by the end of the year. Rural communities are not the only place that need attention. In central Arizona, which once faced the most severe rates of groundwater depletion, we're fortunate to have developed robust systems of groundwater management after decades of living in the AMAs. And this commitment to responsible water management has driven the tremendous population and economic growth that we've sustained over this time. Key to this success is the crown jewel of the 1980 Groundwater Management Act, Arizona's 100-year Assured Water Supply Program. No other state in the country boasts such a rigorous framework of water security and consumer protection, and it's been a foundation of certainty for businesses and residents who have come to call Arizona home. The Assured Water Supply Program is built on the common sense principles that new development should prove that it has water in hand, that existing users will be protected, and that we won't mortgage our future by pumping our aquifers dry. Earlier this year, I unsealed a groundwater study that was produced for assured water supply purposes which showed the presence of groundwater issues in the Far West Valley. This is the second area in central Arizona AMAs where an assured water supply projection shows groundwater declines and future supply deficits, after seeing it first appear in the Pinal AMA 4 years ago. After decades of pumping and groundwater allocation, it isn't hard to predict that this will likely surface in other areas. As I stated in January, we have gotten a wake-up call that we must take action now to properly secure and manage our groundwater resources. These studies are the canary in the coal mine, giving us advance notice and an opportunity to be proactive with the management of our water supplies, to preserve certainty for existing businesses and communities, and to foster sustainable water use as we continue our economic growth. So here's my second directive to the council. Develop a package of policy recommendations which strengthen our assured water supply program and ensure that we protect our groundwater resources for continued growth. Now, there is no doubt that the water challenges we face today are significant, but I am confident that by coming together, we can solve them and ensure the continued prosperity of our state. Arizona has been on the forefront of water management through past and present. It was out of a groundwater crisis that the 1980 Groundwater Management Act was formed, a turning point of policy reform that spurred innovation, billions of dollars in investments for infrastructure and renewable supplies, and a cultural shift to groundwater stewardship. I believe that we are in a similar situation today, where these next few years will become critical milestones in our water history. I'm here today because solving water issues can't wait until tomorrow. And I know that you're all here today because you want to be a part of the solution. While it is no small task, it is time to act, time to build upon Arizona's legacy of water management, and time to secure our water future. I thank you all so much for your service in ensuring that we have the water security that allows our state to thrive for generations to come. So thank you so much for your service here. And with that, I will leave you all in the capable hands of Director Bushatsky, who I have entrusted to lead this effort. I know that our work is cut out for us, and I look forward to checking in on the progress made over the next several months. Thank you again so much.
Or perhaps my staff can put up the agenda as I give some opening remarks here. So I cannot stress enough, as the governor just alluded to, about the importance of the work that we are going to do in this council and the fact that there is a great need for speed, as the governor outlined. We have some real challenges in front of us, as she discussed, but we have opportunity to address those challenges as we have in this state over many, many years. And again, we've heard from the governor in the past about the importance of transparency. We've heard from the governor in the past about how the administration will tackle these challenges head on. So thank you all again for your service here. We'll move on then to some introductions. I want to recognize elected officials that are present from the legislature. Representative Gail Griffin, Representative Stacy Travers, Senator Sini Kerr, Senator Kerr. There you are. These I can't see with him and I can't see without him. Senator Sundarshan, and then are there others? Also, I recognize some staff folks from some of our congressional delegation. I saw Austin Kennedy walk in here earlier. Maybe there are some others. I want to recognize them as well. We have an opportunity now to invite the council members to briefly introduce themselves, provide their name and affiliation. And we're going to start directly across from me with Maria.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Dadgar. I serve as the Executive Director of the Intertribal Council of Arizona. I'd just like to acknowledge that one of my 21 bosses is here in person, Chairwoman Amelia Flores. And I believe the Governor Lewis is online and there may be others. I do have 21 bosses and I love my job. I really do. And I'm very honored to serve once again. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Chris Custis, Arizona Water Program Manager with Environmental Defense Fund. Happy to be here.
I'm Joe Singleton. I'm the Executive Director of the Pinal County Water Augmentation Authority. I am also looking forward to working towards solutions.
Doug Dunham, Water Resources Manager for EPCOR Water. And I will note that every time that former Director Bruszowski and former Director Ms. Whitney down there used to send me out across the state to do meetings like this, it would always rain, and it rained really hard at my house last night. So, Mr. Chairman, perhaps we should do more of these meetings and help our overall water supply.
So I'll ask you to show up every day then, Doug. The rest of you don't need to.
Good afternoon. I'm Jamie Kelly. I serve as General Counsel for Mojave County Water Authority in northwestern Arizona.
Chris Udall, Executive Director of the Agribusiness and Water Council of Arizona, and I have 30 bosses.
Spencer Cams, Vice President of Legislative Affairs for the Home Builders Association of Central Arizona.
Good afternoon. I'm Ron Doba. I'm with the Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association.
Joe Olson, General Manager of Metro Water District and also representing the Southern Arizona Water Users Association.
John Kamik, Director at Tucson Water, City of Tucson.
Good afternoon. I'm Cynthia Campbell. I'm the Water Resources Management Advisor for the City of Phoenix.
Sarah Porter, Director of the Kyle Center for Water Policy at
If we want to keep the usual competition going, I could give all my titles, but I won't. I'm Sharon.
I didn't give all mine.
We'll meet outside later. I'm Sharon McDowell, Director of the Water Resources Research Center at the University of Arizona and Professor of Environmental Science.
Hi, everyone. Senator Priya Sundarshan. I represent Legislative District 18, so I might have a couple 100,000 bosses out of Tucson. And I'm very much looking forward to talking about strengthening the Groundwater Management Act.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Senator Sina Kerr, representing Legislative District 25, which is Western Maricopa County and Yuma County, largely rural agriculture. I'm really honored to be part of the committee.
I'm excuse me, Stacy Travers, and I represent Legislative District 12, which is Ahwatukee, West Chandler, and South Tempe. I have a BS in geophysics from the University of Arizona, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody.
Gail Griffin, Representative, LD 19, which includes portions of 5 counties, Cochise, Graham, Greenlee, Santa Cruz, and Pima County, and I chair the House Natural Resource, Water, and Energy Committee.
Warren Tenney, Executive Director for the Arizona Municipal Water Users Association. Looking forward to grappling on these big issues with all of you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sandy Favorites, the Director of Water Strategy with Freeport-McMoRan.
Good afternoon. My name is Krista McJunkin. I'm also Director of Water Strategy at the Salt River Project, but I am filling in today for Leslie Myers, my boss, who's the Associate General Manager for Water Resources at SRP.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Dent. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Water Policy at the Central Arizona Project. Like Krista, I'm sitting in for General Manager Brenda Berman, who is fighting the daily fight on the Colorado River and regrettably couldn't be here today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Ferris. It says here I'm former director of the Arizona Department of Water Resources and the Groundwater Management Study Commission. Deja vu.
Good afternoon, Cheryl Lombard, President and CEO of Valley Partnership. We represent all types of development, commercial, industrial, master plan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Torres. I'm the Director of the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management, also known as the State Forester.
Hello, I'm Sandra Watson, President and CEO of the Arizona Commerce Authority.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Sayed. I'm the Commissioner of the Arizona State Land Department.
Hello, my name is Karen Peters, Director of the State Department of Environmental Quality.
Good afternoon, Patrick Adams, Water Policy Advisor to Governor Hobbs.
Good afternoon, Bruce Hallen. I'm the advisor to the Director of the Department of Water Resources.
Thank you, everyone. I also need to mention that we have some council members who are out of town and participating remotely. Abe Springer from NAU College of Environment, Forestry, and Natural Sciences. Craig Sullivan, Executive Director of the County Supervisors Association. Haley Paul from Audubon Southwest. And Stephanie Smallhouse, the State President of the Arizona Farm Bureau. Note as well that there are 5 additional council members still to be named. A representative of the Navajo Nation, a representative from a tribal community outside the active management areas, 2 representatives from tribal communities inside the active management areas, and the Director of the Department of Agriculture. I have additional staff for the department with me. Clint Chandler, Deputy Director, Nicole Clovis, Chief Counsel, Carol Ward, Assistant Deputy Assistant Director, and a bunch of others. I also want to recognize, I look around the room and I see staff sitting behind all of us at this table. I really want to thank them as well, because I know they're the ones who are going to do a lot of the work for all of us, especially myself with my own staff. So thank you as well for coming, and I'm sure you will put your shoulder to the grindstone as well with the rest of us. So if we could move on, getting into the meat of the discussions here. Wanted to talk about the focus areas and objectives. And again, the 2 focus areas, as the governor mentioned, for the council in 2023 are the Assured Water Supply Program and Rural Groundwater Management. And we'll talk some more about that. The next slide, please. The next slide, please. So focusing on the Assured Water Supply Program, again, more than 40 years ago, Arizona was struggling to come to grips with the difficult reality of unsustainable groundwater mining. After decades of debate, study, and commissions, the Groundwater Management Act was passed. That innovative law, coupled with access to Colorado River water through the Central Arizona Project, enabled secure growth in the decades to follow. In particular, the Assured Water Supply Program has guided responsible growth in an arid environment It has provided consumer protection, ensured new homes would have sustainable water supplies, and positioned Arizona as a leader in water resource management. Commitment to the program from cities, water providers, developers, and home builders has made this program what it is today. The program has driven innovation, collaboration, and creativity in water resource management, including some of the bullets on this slide: recharge, replenishment, water banking, exchanges, reuse, demand reduction, and significant investment in renewable water supplies and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So assured water supply modeling, something that I know is on many folks' minds, and the governor alluded to that in her speech. Again, the assured water supply program requires the department to carefully evaluate available supplies for 100 years before permitting additional future growth in subdivisions. Models are updated to utilize the best available science and are constructed to include the rules, policies, and requirements of the Assured Water Supply Program when we project out the 100 years that those models can project. The latest modeling projections are making it clear that there are challenges ahead that we must address in the near term. The program is doing what it was intended to do, requiring us to plan for water supplies ahead of growth, and also requiring us to take a look at the need to update this program. So we can go to the next slide. Most of you are aware that in 2019, we published the Pinal Model and the projections in the Pinal Active Management Area under the Assured Water Supply Program. The analysis showed that over a period of 100 years, unmet demand for groundwater supplies in the region exceeded 8 million acre feet. And the slide shows the different sectors where that unmet demand was daylighting. Again, existing wells, 5.8 million acre feet, analyses, 1.1 million acre feet, certificates, 300,000, designations, 600,000, and long-term storage credits, 300,000. Again, that outing of the model and some legislative hearings resulted in the creation of a Pinal stakeholder group. The department provided technical assistance and other input into that group. That group did come up with a couple of adjustments to the program that were very positive moving forward. So now if there is a change in the plat that does not use more water, increases density, for example, that plat change can move forward with a very quick decision by the department without having to go back through a bunch of hoops. The second thing that occurred is those entities who were designated providers who had groundwater in their designations, for the portion that they did not use, when their designation came up for review, modification, renewal, et cetera, the portion of that groundwater they had proved up at that first point in time was still available to them. So two good improvements that came out of the Pinal stakeholder group. Some of that was done legislatively and some of that was done by rulemaking. Again, I bring that up just because, as the governor said, those are various tools for this group to consider in its recommendations. If we move forward to the next slide, in the Hassayampa Sub-basin model, which came out at the beginning of this year, the projections there showed an unmet demand of 4.4 million acre feet in total at the end of the 100-year period. In some places, the depth to water is exceeding 1,000 feet below land surface or hits bedrock, especially in the central and northern parts of the sub-basin. One of the big challenges here is that's seemingly where the developers and home builders want to build, along the mountain fronts, so to speak, in this basin. And again, the breakdown of the existing unmet demand is on the slide. Existing wells, 900,000 acre feet, analyses, 2.2 million acre feet, certificates, 1.3 million acre feet, and long-term storage credits, 100,000 acre feet. So A lot of challenges in this sub-basin as well. We're holding in abeyance, I think, lots of determinations, analyses, et cetera, and certificates because of the issues that arose upon the publication of this model in 2023. We can move forward. So these are a couple of statements I've made recently. Again, in June of 2021, the days of utilizing native groundwater for development in Pinal are over. It's done. More recently, talking about working with the stakeholders in the West Valley, the Hassayampa area, to try to look at the Assured Water Supply Program, to look at solutions to address the shortfall, the unmet demand projected in the Hassayampa model. We did that for over a year before that model was published. And as Governor Hobbs signaled in her State of the State speech, it's time to include legislators, the business community, and all constituencies to address the challenges attendant to the Assured Water Supply Program in the Hassayampa Basin and for all the water management challenges facing Arizona. So either additional supplies or reductions in demand must be achieved before development is going to move forward in these areas. And again, we can help in this group find some positive paths forward in this program in these areas. And as the governor alluded to, perhaps in other areas where these issues might daylight as we improve and publish new groundwater models in the active management areas. So if we can move on, the objectives for the Assured Water Supply Program, review and potential recommendations.
That's good. Very good.
Okay. Syncing Tom's voice to slides. So again, the objective is review and make recommendations to changes the Assured Water Supply policies legislatively, administratively, or by executive action to address the challenges revealed by the Assured Water Supply modeling projections, while continuing to, one, strengthen the integrity of the Assured Water Supply Program, protect consumers and aquifers, and ensure future growth is not reliant on mined groundwater. Again, it's critical that we face these challenges now, and we determine how we can adapt to ensure we avoid overuse of finite groundwater supplies, maximize renewable supplies, manage demand, grow smarter, and strengthen, not weaken, the program. One of the other important timing factors for me is there's lots of federal money out there for us to access in the state of Arizona. We need to take advantage of that, and that's not going to last forever. So that is also near-term opportunity that plays into how important it is that this group do its work and come up with some recommendations by the end of the calendar year. Moving on, the focus on rural groundwater. Outside the active management areas and the irrigation non-expansion areas, there's a limited regulatory framework for managing groundwater. There is no requirement for metering and reporting non-exempt wells and their use, with the exception of community water systems. Certain areas are growing in population at a rate similar to the active management areas. That might come as a surprise to some and not to others. Many are experiencing significant growth in agriculture. Many communities are facing aquifer depletion with limited access to renewable supplies and no tools to manage those groundwater declines. There are increasing calls for a framework that will assist rural communities to manage their groundwater resources. You can move to the next slide, please. So we want to give a couple examples here. The Hualapai Valley Irrigation Non-Expansion Area, designated by decision of the director on December 19th, 2022. On June 23rd of 2022, citing to updated USGS modeling and ongoing and extreme drought conditions, the Mojave County Board of Supervisors requested that the DWR director take whatever actions are available and necessary to designate the Hualapai Valley Groundwater Basin as a subsequent irrigation non-expansion area. After an informal public meeting and comment period on October 12th, the director initiated proceedings to designate the Hualapai Valley Groundwater Basin as an INA. On November 12th, DWR held a hearing in Mojave County to present information on INA requirements and factual data regarding the Hualapai Valley Basin, as well as to take oral and written comments. And again, synthesizing all of that information, I did make that decision on December 19th. There is an administrative appeal of that decision in the Superior Court that's winding its way forward. I wanted to make sure folks are aware of that appeal. So if we could go to the next page, more information about the Hualapai Valley INA. Again, upon review of updated modeling, other relevant information, including current drought conditions, the director found the following. At current rates of withdrawal, depth of groundwater will increase. After 100 years of pumping at current levels, 1 in 20 existing wells are estimated to be no longer pumpable. No longer pumpable doesn't mean that there's no water necessarily. In some cases, that would be the case. In other cases, the depth of that well and its ability to pump from that well are limited by the existing depth, and that's what goes into our model. So in some cases, maybe deepening wells works. But for the basin as a whole, outflows are currently exceeding inflows by a factor of 4, and about 10,000 acre feet of inflow to the aquifer, 44,000 acre feet of outflow from the aquifer. So again, based on those and other findings, the director designated the Hualapai Valley on December 19th, 2023. So moving on to the southeast part of our state, you can go to the next slide. So the Douglas AMA was designated by ballot initiative and became a thing on December 1st, 2022. Again, some information about the Douglas AMA for the basin as a whole. Outflows are currently exceeding inflows by a factor of 2.6, 22,000 acre feet of inflow to the aquifer. It's a U.S. Geological Survey estimate, and a similar estimate of the outflow of 57,000 acre feet per year from that aquifer. We've seen groundwater declines of over 200 feet since 1965. Land subsidence and earth fissures have also been observed in this area, and you can see in orange the area of that AMA. Again, it was a petition filed by residents. The Board of Supervisors of Cochise County called for an election, and that ballot measure passed and was certified, so the designation became effective December 1st, 2022. Next slide, please. So the department has been undergoing the process required by statute to establish the AMA now that it's been created by the vote of the public. And we've been talking about what the management goal should be. We've had public meetings to give background information and receive public input. The next meeting, so to speak, will be the formal public hearing sometime in June of 2023. We're required to do a management plan. The management plan will be guided by the goal and by public input. Again, we're targeting adoption of the plan by the end of 2024, with the conservation requirements becoming effective January 1st of 2027. And in the blue box, you can see the proposed, at this point, draft goal, and this very closely mirrors language for the initial AMAs. The management goal of the Douglas AMA is to support the general economy and welfare of communities in the basin by attempting to reduce the rate of aquifer depletion by 2035, and by further attempting to reduce the rate of aquifer depletion every 10 years thereafter. I will say undoubtedly, the attempting to has caused some heartburn by folks. But if you look at the definition of safe yield in the groundwater code, it says attempts to achieve safe yield, not achieves. And that's where I said we're paralleling the language that is in the initial AMA legislation. Again, regardless of the hydrology, the active management area was designated by that vote of the public. Local stakeholders will continue to have input, directly participating in the development of the goal and the plan. And there is going to be stood up a groundwater users advisory council, as there is in the initial AMAs as well. I think I covered everything for that topic. If we could move to the next slide. So again, one of our objectives is making recommendations for a water management framework. In the blue box, the Governor's Water Policy Council is created to analyze and recommend updates, revisions, and additions to the Groundwater Management Act and related water legislation, which shall include, without limitation, analysis and recommendations for groundwater management outside current active management areas. The question of whether to designate the Wilcox Basin as an active management area was also on the ballot in 2022, although that AMA initiative failed to receive the votes to pass. Discussion of potential solutions are continuing in that community. There are a broad range of potential structures that could be tailored to rural Arizona. Some have been discussed recently and over the past years. Interest has been expressed in identifying an option that is somewhere between an AMA and an INA. And clearly, folks at the local level want to be more involved in the process of developing the structure and ensuring that it can fit their circumstances. And some local stakeholders are frustrated that rural Arizona groundwater management issues haven't received adequate focus and committed effort to date. And the council is going to help address that. So we can move forward. Summarizing, the objective of the council is to review and make recommendations for changes to assured water supply policies, legislatively, administratively, or by executive action to address the challenges revealed by the assured water supply modeling projections while continuing to strengthen the integrity of the assured water supply program, protect consumers and aquifers, and ensure future growth is not reliant on mined groundwater. Also, Objective 2, develop recommendations for a water management framework to assist rural Arizona communities to manage their groundwater resources. And as you heard the governor tell us all, we want to see actionable items by December of 2023. We certainly recognize that this is a very aggressive timeline and that the work ahead is going to be challenging. I appreciate that all of you are stepping forward at this critical point in our state's history, and that you're committing your expertise and time to work collaboratively to generate substantive recommendations. We cannot kick the can down the road any longer. And again, we need to act now. So a little bit on the next slide about the structure and the process. You could go to the next slide, please. And the next one. So again, pursuant to the executive order, the director of DWR serves as the chair of the council. DWR will provide staffing and technical support to the council, which may include support from the department's legal counsel. Council will meet at such frequency as the governor or the chair may direct. Meetings will be called to solicit substantive input, discussion, and to make recommendations. Council shall prepare legislative and policy recommendations at a frequency to be determined by the chair in consultation with the governor or her designee. And council members may designate one alternate from their organization, and alternates are responsible for briefing their respective council members. I would ask that we not have to spend a lot of time reviewing and going backwards at each subsequent meeting. And that's really partly what the last bullet is all about. So council members may, go to the next slide, please, and we'll talk about committees. Again, the chair is charged with creating committees as necessary to facilitate the council's work. And the chair shall appoint the chair and vice chair for any committee so created. We're going to again have two initial committees, short water supply and rural groundwater. Committee leads are going to be the DWR staff. The chair may additionally appoint from and appoint members or their representatives to technical work groups. On the committee, council members are asked to provide their choice of committee to the director in writing. So I will again repeat that. Council members are asked to provide their choice of committee assignments to the director in writing. The chair and the governor's office will make the final decision on the committee rosters. Committee members will be council members or their designated representatives. Designees are empowered to make decisions and are responsible, again, for briefing their respective council members. Again, we want this process to be nimble, to create continuity of discussion and enable progress and proposed outcomes. Again, not every council member needs to be on a committee. If there are groups out there who have views of what should happen, maybe they can be represented by one committee person. We've done this successfully in things like the steering committee for Colorado River, the Arizona Reconsultation Committee for Colorado River. I think my experience certainly, and I think many of yours, has been that smaller groups tend to be more nimble, can come up with better recommendations and move them forward up the chain, so to speak. I just wanted to make that pitch about keeping these committees to a reasonable number of folks, knowing that we have this full council kind of to backstop and make the final recommendations to the governor. So with that, can we move to the next slide, please? Upcoming meeting discussion. So the committees will meet at least once a month from June through December. These are very tentative dates for the first two committee meetings, and additional dates will be forthcoming. So again, tentatively, Assured Water Supply Committee, Tuesday, June 27th in the afternoon here at DWR. Likewise, here at DWR on June 29th at 1 p.m., the Rural Groundwater Management Committee. We're looking forward to hearing from all of you and your suggested or requested committee assignments. You can continue to monitor what's going on in this group, in this council, through the Department of Water Resources website. We'll have a part of our web page directly addressing all of the work of the council. So again, I would ask, moving forward to the next slide, that you email Bruce Hallen, sitting next to me. We have his email address up here on the screen. You could also connect with Kara Ward, and we have a water policy webpage address here for all of you as well. One last reminder, those who are members of the council, there's an oath of office to be filled out that has to be notarized. Do we have a notary available? We do have a notary available for any of you that would like to do so today at the end of this meeting. Well, I'll ask Patrick, I put him on the spot here to make some remarks as well.
Thanks, Tom.
You all know Patrick is the water policy advisor in Governor Hobbs' administration, so welcome to the task, Patrick, and
Quite the task it is. Well, we really wanted to extend our appreciation for all of you who are answering the call today. As the governor stated in her opening remarks, now is the time for action. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road. We have pressing groundwater challenges that demand attention in the state of Arizona, in our rural areas and in our urban areas. This council is an opportunity for the state to continue its legacy on responsible water management. And all of you here today at this table have an opportunity to be part of that legacy and be part of the future. And so the governor has set quite an aggressive timeline for us. She has high expectations for this group. I think it all resonated with us when she stated that past groundwater councils and commissions of the state, some have accomplished the most monumental things in Arizona water policy, and some have done very little. And we need to be in that former category, and that's the expectation of the governor's office. So we are really looking forward to partnering and working with all of you. It's an amazing group of water leaders and experts that are assembled here today, and we appreciate you for all of your work that you do on ensuring Arizona has a secure water future. So I'll turn it back to Tom.
thanks, Patrick, and thanks all of you for attending this kickoff meeting. We'll look for your emails regarding your committee assignments and get this ball rolling in earnest at those first two committee meetings. So with that, I think we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I don't need the pounding.